And now let's get started with today's webinar, Energy and Sustainability Reporting Best Practices, Your Data, Your Way. Our guests today are Dave Ulmer, Chief Product and Technology Officer at EnergyCAP, and Lalit Agarwal, Vice President of Energy Management and Sustainability, also at EnergyCAP. So Dave, why don't you get us started today?
Thanks, Deborah. Appreciate the introduction. Nice to see all of you online today. Some of you we haven't been able to see for a while. Hope you're all doing well and staying safe. It is my pleasure to welcome one of EnergyCAP's newest team members to the webinar today, and that is Lalit Agarwal. Several of you already know Lalit. If you've attended other EnergyCAP events, you may have heard from him from his previous experiences. But let me give you a little introduction to who Lalit is. Lalit's coming to EnergyCAP into his new role as Vice President of Energy Management and Sustainability. He's coming from his Executive Director of University Operations role with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln campus. During his 20-plus years with the university, Lalit served in many roles within the facility management team. His experience with everything from developing their own building automation system to managing energy plans to preparing university-wide reports on the progress of energy savings and sustainability goals, all will help EnergyCAP continue to evolve our products and services to meet the needs of our customers. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Lalit.
Thank you very much, Dave. That was a very generous introduction. Yes, it's exactly 1 week today that I have switched careers. Today marks the 1 week anniversary of my job at EnergyCAP. I'm very excited to be part of this team, and couldn't have gotten a better hazing start than making me host a webinar. So here we are today.
We do what we can, Lalit, you know.
Absolutely. So I'm very excited to share some of my experience at the university and more looking at it from a client side of things, the owner side of things. So I'll share with you what I think. So since we have limited time and a lot of content to cover, I'll jump right in. So sustainability, when we think of sustainability, we think of many, many things. Greenhouse gas comes to mind. But when you think of greenhouse gases, we think of many things: energy, water, waste, transportation of people. But are all those things equal? Actually not. According to the climate group, 40% of our greenhouse gas emissions comes from our built environment, the buildings that we occupy, whether we live in them, whether we work in them. And this built environment uses electricity for electrification, heating and cooling, whatever the needs may be. And their projection is that if left unchecked, that can double in the next 30 years by 2050. So we really have a very interesting dynamic here where building energy seems to be the area that if we focus on, we can make a biggest impact on our greenhouse gas emissions. Then if you look at those same areas and see data availability, whether it is limited or ubiquitous, or how easy or how hard is it to measure, we also find this continuum where utility energy data and water information are actually very easily available, and they're relatively easy to measure because we've been metering them for a long time. So the old saying, you can't manage what you don't measure. So let's see how we can do a good job of figuring out how to capture this data, how to visualize this data, how to share this data, and how to analyze. So we'll talk today about best practices on how you're going to capture and organize the data. Once you have captured it and organized it, we don't just want it to sit in a database. We want it to be visualized, and we want to document our progress by using configurable reporting and dashboarding. Once you have visualized it, we don't want to keep it to yourself. We want to share it with others that are involved in decision-making to share that information and share our progress. But wait, we want to not just do that. We want to also analyze our data, make the data work for us. How can we make that data into intelligent information by using business intelligence tools? So we'll cover a little bit of each of these areas in the upcoming hour. So let's start with capturing the data. So we think that most organizations, institutions are in this data capture continuum And I'm going to lay out what the continuum is from our point of view. We are going to introduce a poll here very quickly, and just keep thinking about where your organization falls on this data continuum so you can respond to the poll on a coming up slide. So on the least mature data capture continuum, you have organizations that are just taking the utility bills that they receive, and the accounting department takes them and pays them off. And there is no energy data captured. Only the cost information is captured for payments. Then you move on to a little more mature organization where you are actually capturing the energy data, the usage data from your utility bills, and there is usually somebody in the energy management team that's doing that. Now, that information sometimes is stored in Excel, Access, or some kind of a non-enterprise software, and typically that information is owned by an individual and unfortunately lost when they transition out of the organization. Then you could have a more serious energy management system where you're capturing the energy data and you're storing it in a homegrown or other enterprise facility software, which is better than the previous two options because at least it allows you for ad hoc reporting on both energy cost and usage. And it's still better than the two options, but it's still a square peg in a round hole. You're using a different system that was meant for solving a different problem and using it for solving your energy information problem. Then we come to the most mature organizations that are using their energy information as an enterprise resource planning resource. And in that, you are now streamlining the process that captures both the energy cost and usage data when the energy bills come in. The cost and usage data is stored in an enterprise solution for very easy access and for easy reporting. Both of those cost and usage information can easily be allocated to appropriate end user with using streamlined workflows. And in these kind of systems, there is actually very minimum to absolutely no data entry. So think about where your organization falls on this continuum. And with that, Deborah, could you please queue up the poll, please?
I sure can. Thank you. All right, so with all those definitions in mind, where does your organization sit on the data capture continuum? So I'll ask our audience to pick the one that is closest to you. Is it accounting data only, basic energy management, energy ERP or enterprise resource planning, or are you not sure? And we'll give everybody a couple seconds to tell us where they're at today. And let's see, a few more seconds. People are still answering.
And if you think that you fall in the middle of the two areas, feel free to go ahead and pick the next one up or next one down. You're basically answering this for yourself.
Ah, that's a good point. Okay, we'll give 3 more seconds. 2, okay, creating drama here. 1, and let's see what our answers are today. All right, the biggest percentage, a little over a third at 35%, say energy management, followed closely at just under a third for energy ERP. We've got almost 20% at basic energy management, 8% not sure. We appreciate the honesty there. You're here to learn. And 4% at accounting data only. Does this surprise you? What do you think of these answers?
It does surprise me, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised because I'm at least seeing that there are more organizations that are towards the mature continuum than the less mature continuum. So that's actually welcome news to me. But there is absolutely nothing wrong with making the choice that you made for where you are today, because there is always opportunity to improve. With that, I'm going to actually turn it over to Dave now, and he's going to talk about specifically how EnergyCAP itself serves as a software platform for energy ERP. Dave, it's all yours.
Thanks, Lalit. So as we think about capturing your data, as Lalit mentioned, there are different points on that continuum. So what options are available to you? So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the options that are available within EnergyCAP, and make sure that wherever you are in that continuum, you're thinking about certain things that are really important to keep in mind if you're going to get the most value out of your utility data. So the first of those options is manual bill entry. It's where a lot of organizations start. That could be bill entry into an accounting system. It could be bill entry into spreadsheets, but you're manually doing that. Next is when you're importing data into a system. And then the third being where you have an option to have someone else take that burden for you, and they're putting that information in for you. All three of those are options within the EnergyCAP platform as well. So let's look at each of those. The first being manually recording bills. So in EnergyCAP, we have a number of customers who do that. They get their bills in the mail, or they get electronic copies of those bills, and they pull them up on their screen, and they enter the information in. And what's really important is if you're going to be using a manual entry approach, make sure at a bare minimum, you are always collecting use, demand, and cost data. We often see customers who may enter, start on the cost side, and maybe then they start to add use, but then they sometimes miss demand, and they don't realize how much demand may drive, especially on the electric front, drive some of their costs. So it's important at a bare minimum, if you're going to be manually entering bills, to collect these three items: use, demand, and cost. But realize that if that's all you're collecting, there's a lot of other rich detail that's on your utility bill. And if you're thinking about it only from the perspective of, well, what's the bare minimum that I need? It would be those three elements. But there's a lot of rich data available in your utility bills. And we find that the customers who get the most value out of their utility bills are those who also collect the most information from their utility bills. So what you can see here on the screen, on the left, this is a real utility bill. In fact, this is a bill for EnergyCAP that includes some content. And you'll notice how many different line items are here. It's a lot more than use, demand, and cost. And a robust system like EnergyCAP can capture all of those bits of information. They may not seem relevant at the time, but you may find as you look back, because maybe you're in the process of switching suppliers or looking for some other contract for supply, you may find that some of that information is incredibly relevant. You may find billing errors. You might find other bits of detail within your data that can help your organization meet its goals faster. So it's important not just to collect the data, but to collect as much data as you can, because you'll never know when that data may come in handy in terms of meeting your goals and directives. As we move beyond manually entering bills, the next step is when you can import bills. You can take something that's already been provided in an electronic format, and you can get that into a system. So we have a number of customers who do this. That might be spreadsheets or comma-separated value files. It might be something more complex like EDI files that you're getting directly from your utility vendor. All of these are different options, and the great thing about this is it does avoid some of the pitfalls of manual entry and potentially miskeying a particular item on a bill. But there's still some things that you want to keep in mind if you're importing files yourself. It's important to make sure that the file format that you're using is going to stay consistent. We've seen times before where potentially the source has changed those files and somebody didn't realize it for a while. So maybe everything just shifts one column. Well, that one column can make a big difference when it comes to recording your data. And if your data isn't accurate and you can't rely upon it, it's very, very hard to move on to the other steps that we're going to talk about in this presentation. You need to have accurate, reliable data in the system in order to move on. So if you are getting those files and you're importing them into a system, make sure they're coming from a consistent format and from a reliable, readily available system, that you're not going to be missing data and get data for some months but not other months. That also, those gaps can really mess with your calculations and your projections for the future as well. Make sure that if you are using spreadsheets in particular, that those match the billing data that you have in your bills that you pay. We've seen a number of cases where utility vendors will provide Excel downloads, which are great, but sometimes the source for those Excel downloads are different than the actual system that created your bills. So the problem is, if that's the case and you're relying on that information, and then someone's looking at a bill that they received in the mail, which might be in the accounting system or something else, and they see a mismatch, they don't know who to believe, right? I've heard the phrase before. I believe I first heard it from my father, and he said, a man with two watches never knows the time, right? When you have two conflicting bits of information that are both supposed to represent the same period of time, people start to lose faith in the system. They start to lose faith in your data. So you want to watch out for that. Make sure that if you are going to be getting files, especially from a utility vendor, that you're talking to them about, is the source of this information the same as the source of the information that I'm getting my bills from? And make sure that you reliably map the data. Make sure that you take the time to understand all the data that you're getting and that you're mapping it properly. Just like we talked about before, you want to collect as much information as you can off of, let's say, a spreadsheet that you get, but you're going to have to make sure you do a good job of not double counting because of how line items are captured and things like that. Which leads us to the third option, right? Which is saying, in most cases, energy managers are really good at managing energy. They're not always thinking about the nuances of utility bills, especially as the number of utility bills may grow over time. So you may want to consider using a bill processor. EnergyCAP provides a service called Bill Capture that does just this. We take lots of different types of formats, including PDF files, scan files, EDI, spreadsheets, etc. We understand this data. This is where we live. This is what we do. We get up in the morning for this. So we understand the data. We can take all of those different formats and get all of those details, all of the rich details that come in on bills. We can get all of that into a system for you and provide other services like potentially helping you integrate between EnergyCAP and an accounting system. So not only are you getting accurate information to help you with your energy management goals, but potentially saving money in terms of data entry and things like that on the back end, passing information along to other systems downstream. Several different options, right? Manual entry, importing things, using a bill processor. The most important thing is get accurate data, but realize the more data you get, the better. And sometimes it's better to leave that to the experts if you want to get all of the data consistently every time. We also want you to be thinking about, what do you have besides utility bill data? Interval data is readily available from a number of utility vendors. You can use that in your system. You may even have your own monitoring systems that you could pull data in. Systems like EnergyCAP, we provide the option for you to bring that into your system so that you can use that for analysis. It gives you a much better detailed view of your facilities. And again, as we're talking about trying to hit our goals for sustainability, trying to hit our energy management goals, the finer grained detail that we have, the better chance that we're going to be able to make a difference within our organizations. Also consider going beyond that 40%. We talked about 40% being what you're building, is on your utility bills. But what about the other 60% that's also affecting your sustainability goals? Well, EnergyCAP can track things beyond utility bills, including your waste streams, and can include many different types of waste tracking that you can use for your reporting needs. Also water. Not all water is created equal, right? The source is how you're using it. That really matters. So you want to make sure that with a system like EnergyCAP, you have the ability to use all of those different functions to really bifurcate your water use and make sure that you're getting credit for those different things that you're using, like reclaimed water versus what you're getting potentially from the community system. And also think about other things that impact your GHG numbers, like the miles driven by employees or in fleet vehicles, maybe miles flown, alternative fuel sources. EnergyCAP provides ways to track all of this in one central system so you can start to get that utility bill data and interval data and all these other things together into one place, enabling you to make smart choices. So we've talked through a number of different ways that you can capture data. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Lalit to talk about visualizing that data.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, so there are so many ways that you can capture the data using EnergyCAP. So use the best that works for you. The more granular you can get, the better it will be. But as I said earlier, you got all the data now, and it's just sitting in a database. But you don't want it to just sit in a database. You want to take it out and visualize and document your progress by using configurable reporting and dashboarding. So we'll come to our second continuum, that is the data visualization continuum. And again, there will be a poll question here, so follow along as you're looking at these options. So the first one is there is no visualization. So any visualization is produced manually for regulatory or budgetary purposes. So you go in and dig out your previous bills and put it in a spreadsheet and share it with whoever needs to see that information. Second is custom spreadsheets. So you have spreadsheets that you have created over time, and that's where you use the that's what you use for visualizing your energy data in the spreadsheet. And back in the day when I worked in the university, we actually had a spreadsheet. We called it the multicolored spreadsheet. Guess why it was called the multicolored spreadsheet? Because it had multiple colors in it. The problem with those kind of approaches is that your information is absolutely not flexible, and it cannot be used for anything but what that spreadsheet was created for. There is no alternate purpose for that. Coming to the third level, you're looking now at some kind of reporting. So you have reports that can be generated for various purposes. However, if you're doing it very heavily on report generation, you may have pretty high lead time in developing new reports. And then when there are infrastructure changes, meaning new buildings got added to your portfolio or existing building got demolished, sometimes that may lead to a recreation of those reports, and there is a significant lead time again. And then the last part is that reporting is reporting, but dashboards are the next level. So that's where the Energy ERP comes in. So in this particular scenario, you have standard reports that are very easily available. You can create custom reports very, very quickly by configuring a few options. And then you go into dashboard and creating visualizations that are very easy to create and manage. And any adjustments that you need to make to that are made to the infrastructure, again, new buildings or buildings getting demolished, are very easy to make. To me, reports are more like looking in the rearview mirror while you're driving down the interstate. We don't drive like that. We look forward. So that's where the dashboards and visualizations are going to impact your decision making. So those are the four options. Deborah, I'd let you queue up the next poll, please.
All right, here we go. So where does your organization sit on the data visualization continuum? So you've just heard all about them. You should be able to choose quickly. No visualizations, custom spreadsheets, energy reports, energy ERP, or not sure. And we'll give you a few moments to select your answer, and remind you to enter your questions on the console if you have any for our terrific speakers today. We'll get to as many as we can. And let's see if people are still answering. I'm going to give another few seconds. And let's see what our audience has to tell us today. All right, bigger spreads on this one. 40% say energy reports. 20% are at custom spreadsheets. Oh, I missed one. 30% on energy ERP, then 20% for custom spreadsheets. 6% say no visualizations, and 3% are not sure. Lalit, I saw you nodding your head.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was expecting the energy reports to be a little higher number, but I'm glad that whatever is missing from there, I'm hoping is in the energy ERP. But the other thing I was going to identify is that I think one of the things we'll find out is that most organizations that are on the left end of the continuum are probably going to be in the left end of the continuum for all four polls that we have. And then those that are on the right end of the continuum or wherever in the middle, you're probably going to find a consistent answer. It's probably going to stray pretty straight. But yeah, that's really good. I'm glad all the 69% that are in energy reports and energy ERP, you're moving in the right direction. That is what's needed. And no shame in not being there. It's just an opportunity for improvement. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dave to talk about some of the visualization and reporting options that EnergyCAP provides.
Thanks, Lalit. So as Lalit mentioned, reports kind of looking in the rearview mirror, but they're still important at certain times, especially when sharing data with other people. And they're also important from a consistency perspective. So at EnergyCAP, we understand the value of that. And that's why we've provided several reporting guides to go along with the reports that we make available within our tooling. So this is one of those report guides that's available on our website, the Energy Management Report Guide, that actually walks energy managers through a number of different reports, talks about the importance of the reports, why are they useful, and recommended settings or filters that you would want to use in order to get the most out of these reports that you don't have to design yourself. They're there, they're ready to go, and they're very common. We've built them based on feedback that we've received over the years. In EnergyCAP, you can really make your reports your own by not just getting a canned report, but by being able to customize those reports with an entire set of filters. You can choose what data to include, what data not to include, how many of your buildings to group together, how many meters, one commodity, many commodities. The choice is really yours. So we really make the reporting functionality available in such a way that you can make it your own with filters and options, and you can save the combinations that you like, so it's really quick and easy to be able to get back to them whenever you need to. One of the other things that we do in EnergyCAP is we make sure that we provide reports in the formats that make the most sense. Sometimes the best format for a report is PDF, because you want to distribute it and you want everyone to be seeing the same thing. But sometimes, if you're like me and you're an Excel junkie, you want to get the data into Excel because maybe you want to say a couple what-if scenarios. Like, I know this isn't what happened, but maybe I want to try this out and see, what if I could do this? How would that impact things, right? So in EnergyCAP, you can see here, there are multiple formats that we provide for our reports depending on the type of report and the way the data should be used. There's also an option to have a report sent to you on a regular basis. So once you've configured that report and you've got your filtering the way you want, maybe you want to save that report so that every Monday you're getting a report for the activity within your facility last week, or every month you're getting a report for all of the buildings that look like this within your facility, or all of your meters that have these characteristics. You can set up that report, save it. Sure, you can run it ad hoc, but isn't it nice when that report comes to you? Sometimes it's even that reminder that you need to say, yeah, I need to take a look at that and see if this change has been effective as what we thought. But as Lalit said, reports are kind of looking backwards, and dashboards are helping you manage the system and look into the future. So EnergyCAP also comes with a robust dashboarding tool to bring visibility to your key metrics. It allows you to put together those elements of your system and those metrics that make the most sense, that are most relevant for you and for your teams as well. So lots of different options. You can create multiple dashboards. You can use different content types. You can filter those different content types to make sure that you're looking at the right metrics to help your organization move into the future and keep moving forward. And let's not discount the availability of really simple charting, really simple ability to see how things are going. And in EnergyCAP, we call that our power views. So within EnergyCAP, if you just click on a building, you can see instant metrics for that facility. If you click on a meter, you can see instant metrics for that meter and what's going on. You didn't have to run a report. You didn't have to change any filters. It's right there. It's really quick because you know what your buildings are. Go find them, click on them, and you can start learning a lot of information. And again, that's all fundamental to the fact that you've got your data in one place, you've got it well organized, you've got the right information being recorded on a regular basis. But Power Views, don't overlook them. They're a really easy way to get a quick snapshot on data that's in your system. And we provide multiple Power Views depending on the particular types of objects that you're looking at. We have interval data ones. We have ones that are more billing focused. We have some that are more focused on performance over time. We have normalization, calendarization, EUI, the things that you would expect to have at the fingertips of an energy manager who's trying to make sure that they understand their facilities and the opportunities that are ahead of them. So that's a little bit about how EnergyCAP helps our customers visualize their energy and sustainability data. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Lalit to talk about getting that data and sharing it with others.
Sure. Thanks, Dave. Actually, I want to go back to the Power Views that you mentioned just a while ago. A week ago before that, I was a client of EnergyCAP, and that was my favorite feature. I didn't have to configure anything. I didn't have to do anything. It just was there. As long as you set your database just right, you are able to nail down that piece of information that, honestly, before we implemented EnergyCAP on our campus, used to take us a good 3 to 4 days sometimes. And it became available literally in 3 to 4 minutes. So it just made a huge difference in our ability to use it. And those are my favorites. But yeah, let's keep moving on. So you captured the data, whatever process you used to get it into the system, you got it there. You have created a bunch of visualizations that help you document your progress, and you can do dashboards. But you don't want to keep that all to yourself. You want to share it with others. You may want to share it with financial decision makers in your organizations. You might want to share it with the regulatory people, either within your organization or outside, state agencies, federal agencies, whoever you're working with, you want to share that data. So we're going to go to the next continuum that we're going to try to poll you guys, and that is the data sharing continuum. So again, we start from left to right, where first you actually have absolutely no sharing. The energy information is siloed in either the energy management team or the accounting department. The second level is it's shared as needed. So my boss comes to me and says, hey, I need to know how much energy did our residential buildings, residential complexes used in the last 2 years. And typically I would compile the information. It may take me 3 or 4 days, print it literally and walk it over to their office, or in modern world, at least I hope, send it by email. The third level is we have created some reporting servers where stakeholders outside of the energy team within your organization actually do have some access to energy information, and they can report on that. Most of these reports are still designed to be pulled by stakeholders. They're not necessarily readily pushed to them in their inbox. And then the last is that the ability to configure these to manipulate the way the information looks, or change the time period, or change the other filters that you may have, is sometimes very limited for the end user or the stakeholder that's trying to run that report. And then, of course, we come to the Energy ERP, the most mature product out there, where sharing of dashboards and visualization is at a click of a button. Reports can be pushed to stakeholders without them having to come and get it. It's some Monday morning, every first of the month, it just shows up in the inbox. Stakeholders can self-configure the reports to fit their needs. So maybe you created a report or a dashboard for them, but they don't like exactly the way it looks. So they have a very easy ability to configure that report to fit their needs. It supports many, many formats. As Dave indicated, it could be as simple as a board report that could be in a PDF format, or if there is a data analyst that wants to export it into Excel and do some analysis on it, they can do that. And most of these can also then be taken to a whole new level of making public real-time dashboards that you can publish your progress to the public and show it on your website. And we don't have to do much work, as Dave's going to show you in a little bit. But before we get there, let's see where our audience stands today in this Continuum A, B, C, or D. Deborah, could you please queue up the poll?
I can. Thank you very much. Okay, this poll question: where does your organization sit on the data sharing continuum? So again, you know the choices. It's like no sharing, shared as needed, reporting servers, energy ERP, or not sure. And we'll give you, you know the drill by now. We'll give you a few seconds. Choose the one that's closest to what you're doing. And I'm going to peek ahead and see if people are answering. We're going to give another 5 seconds on this one. Now we have a lot of answers. And I'm going to take a look. Let's see what our audience has to tell us. All right, 44%, just about shared as needed, followed at 28% reporting server or servers. About 15% say energy ERP, 9% not sure, and 5% no sharing. Okay, any of that surprise you?
Well, they made a lot out of me. I thought the pattern was going to stay true and we would have 35% in the reporting and ERP, but maybe that is the next level of maturity that's needed. So we make sure that we create those automated sharing possibilities. So I'll turn it back over to Dave again, and he's going to show how EnergyCAP does information sharing across your organization or even outside.
Thanks, Lalit. So we do think it's really important. You've put all this energy into getting your data together, organizing it well, being able to report on it. You want to start getting credit for it, right? You want to be able to share this information easily with other people. So first off, in EnergyCAP, we have shared reports and dashboards. And what that does is it allows you, as someone who really understands your data, you may be the expert who's probably the right person to configure reports, to make sure that the right things are included or not included so that it doesn't lead to questions. You can make a report, And you can make a dashboard, and then you can share that with multiple people within your organization. In fact, the way our sharing works, we do it with user groups. So you can group different sets of people within your organization into logical groups. Maybe they're part of the accounting team or the executive team or the sustainability team. And you can group them together and share specific reports and specific dashboards that you've taken the time to curate directly to them. And then they can come in. At this point, then they have the ability to come into EnergyCAP and pull those reports or look at those dashboards. But you, as the expert, have had the hand on helping to make them really make sense of the data. But wouldn't it be nice if you could take that information and you could push it out on a regular basis, and even you didn't have to worry about that push just happened for you automatically. And that's where report distribution comes into play. So in EnergyCAP, you can take those shared reports and you can make a report distribution. You have all the options to create the report with all the filters and things, all the power behind EnergyCAP's reports, but then you have the additional ability to be able to share those reports with one or more user groups. Again, you can group your users together. You can send information even to those people who aren't logging into EnergyCAP at all. You can send emails to them on a regular basis. So this is an example of a report that's configured to be sent on a quarterly basis on the first day of the third month of every quarter. And it's looking back, again, looking in the rear view, but this can save you a lot of time and energy because you know it's set up, you know that you've had a hand in setting it up so that the data is right, and it's going to be sitting there in someone's inbox, and you get credit for it. So again, you're making the most, you're creating value out of the data that you've already worked so hard to put into place and get organized. The same is true with dashboards. You can share dashboards, but wouldn't it be great if you could share dashboards to people who aren't even part of your organization or people who aren't logging into your energy management systems? That's where public dashboards come into play. You can create a public dashboard and share a link with someone, and they can use that just like you might share a public Google Doc or something like that someone has read-only access to. That's the same concept with our public dashboards. You create it, you make it publicly accessible with a link. And I've got some examples to show you. The city of Philadelphia is doing this to be very transparent about where they stand with their energy management and sustainability goals. So they have a public website where they have a link directly to a public dashboard they've created within EnergyCAP where they're recording those metrics and they're helping tell their story to other people. Also, these public dashboards can be accessed on mobile devices. This is that same website using the EnergyCAP public dashboards, but loaded on a phone. So you can see that information, and again, as the curator, you have the ability to customize the content, the shape, the format, in such a way that it's going to make sense to whomever your audience is that you're trying to reach. Another example I want to provide are our embedded dashboards. So this is like a public dashboard, but you get to put it into your own website. It's a public dashboard that's built within the ecosystem that you've already created, where you already have people coming, whether it's part of your organization, maybe it's a website dedicated to your sustainability goals. These are two examples from two of our higher ed customers, from the University of Nebraska and from Kansas University. And they have actually embedded EnergyCAP public dashboards directly within the content that they have for their energy and sustainability goals. So that allows them to again, tell the story the way they want to tell the story, but leverage the data that they've worked so hard to get organized well in EnergyCAP directly within their website. So it's like the best of both worlds. So those are just a few ways that you can use EnergyCAP to take that data, share those reports, share those dashboards, and even embed them within other content that you have. And with that, I'll turn it back to Lalit for our final point of the day.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And going back to the example that Dave had pulled up on the dashboard on our sustainability side, when I was at Nebraska, one of the big concerns with the previous sustainability dashboard was it would redirect us from our .edu domain to a .com domain. And with EnergyCAP's ability to let us embed that dashboard right within our sustainability website while staying within the EDU domain was a big decision maker for us to choose this feature. So moving on, so we've captured the data, we've visualized it, and now we have shared it with others so they could get effectively involved in helping us make progress. But why not take it to the next level? Take it to the next level with making the data work for you. How can we take that data, integrate it, and analyze it with business intelligence tools and other system data. So you guys are pro by now. We are going to the next continuum here, data analysis continuum. Again, as we move from left to right, we are going to have a poll question for you. So start thinking about where your organization falls. So there is no analysis done. Energy data is never reviewed. Utility bills are paid as received, and energy information is reviewed only during a moment of crisis. You may have some ad hoc analysis where energy cost and data is reviewed on an ad hoc basis. And typically, this is driven by a motivated energy manager or an accountant. You may have a more robust analysis where workflows do exist to review energy cost and usage data. You may have various software, some that may be custom made within your organization for this particular purpose. And then the results you're going to get out of that ad hoc or disparate system software is sometimes the detection of errors can be very inconsistent. So when you come to an energy ERP system, you have a set of documented automated workflows that are easily used to identify outliers. When you have people that leave, that motivated energy manager or that motivated accountant may leave for greener pastures or retires, it doesn't really have any impact because all the rules for the analysis are documented within the system. So that's where you are able to use that energy data for business intelligence and help your enterprise. So think about where your organization currently falls on this continuum. And with that, Deborah, could you please queue up the next and the last poll?
Last one. Everybody get your answers in and tell us, where does your organization sit on the data analysis continuum? Is it no analysis, ad hoc analysis, robust analysis, energy ERP, or not sure? I know you can all do this fast because you're pros now, but we'll still give you a few seconds to get your answers in. You want to get as many as possible. And they're coming in. We're going to give it just another few seconds. Click that button. And 3 more seconds. 2, 1, and here we go. Okay, interesting. 38% say ad hoc analysis. 33% say robust analysis, so somewhat close. 19% energy ERP. Not sure at about 6%, and no analysis at about 5%. The numbers are bouncing around a little bit.
Yeah, but this is similar. Yeah, this is similar to the third question we asked. So that kind of makes me think that there are people who have systems in place. They are moving towards the more mature side of the continuum, and that's a great thing for the industry as a whole. I'm very excited to see that there is this opportunity out there. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Dave, who's going to talk about the analysis tools that are available within EnergyCAP.
Thanks, Lalit. So as Lalit mentioned, it's important to be able to have these rule sets be built into a system so that you have that consistency over time. And in fact, what's even better than that is when the rule sets update themselves automatically over time. And we've built tooling like that into EnergyCAP. So this is an example of our outlier analysis. So every bill that comes into the system is evaluated based on rolling bills over time and looking at the sensitivity relative to weather to automatically identify outliers so that you're spending your time on the limited set of data to look at and not trying to track down. I mean, we've all been in that case where you're getting too many emails, too many alerts, and you just start ignoring them, right? We don't want that to be the case. So we're trying to draw your attention to the true outliers and make sure that those outliers are smartly determined over time. So this outlier analysis is performed automatically. It's self-learning. It flags the bills for follow-up, and you can even assign those to specific staff to follow up on. Maybe you have a team that you want to distribute these to, or expertise in different areas that you can take advantage of that with EnergyCAP's outlier analysis. It's also helpful when you can take this data that you've worked so hard to put together and integrate it with other tooling and other systems that you have. We understand that the energy management system is one piece of a much larger system when we think about an organization. And in EnergyCAP, we've done that using Microsoft's Azure Analysis Services, which can tie your EnergyCAP data into a standard reporting format that you can integrate with tools like you see here. Some very common tools like Excel, others much more advanced like Tableau and IBM Cognos and others. So you can integrate your data from EnergyCAP with other systems, and maybe you have experts who already are really good at using some of the advantages of these other tool sets. You get the best of both worlds with this type of an integration, and we call that EnergyCAP Report Designer BI. If you're interested, let us know. We'll be happy to tell you more about that. Here's an example of how one of our customers is using their data, and they're integrating it with, in this case, Power BI. It could be a different tool, but they're using Microsoft's Power BI tool in order to create visualizations and analysis that is specific to their organization. This is another example from that same customer where they've taken their data and they've built a carbon footprint dashboard with the metrics and the goals, and they can actually integrate this in with goals and things that might be external to a system like EnergyCAP, but they can bring that data together into one view, really bringing intelligence to their data set and getting the most value out of the work that they put into it. And then you can take it to a whole nother level, which is full API integration, integrating systems programmatically to feed data into EnergyCAP directly, maybe data coming in from your building management system or interval system, feeding data out of EnergyCAP directly to accounting systems. Maybe you have a two-way flow of information with your asset management and building systems as well. So EnergyCAP is built on a robust API platform. In fact, everything that we do in EnergyCAP is built on APIs that our customers can use to integrate EnergyCAP into that bigger ecosystem that they're running to help make sure that they're getting the most out of their energy management and sustainability data. And EnergyCAP's APIs follow well-known standards, and that's important. When you're talking about systems integrating together, you want to make sure they're well documented and that they follow standards, which is really important to us and to our development team to make sure that you can get the most out of your investment in your energy management data. Here's one final example that I want to show from one of our customers who is integrating their EnergyCAP data with other systems. In this case, they're using their GIS systems and they're using other building management system data. They're bringing it all together using APIs and tooling like the Report Designer BI tool that I talked about to bring it all together. And they've actually created a public dashboard of their own that brings these different pieces of information together so they can educate the public about the progress they're making towards their energy and sustainability goals. So really important to be able to not only put your data into a silo, but be able to integrate that data into everything else you're doing to get the real value you need within your organization. And with that, I'm going to let Lalit wrap us up.
Thanks, Dave. So we've just covered how we capture the data, how we visualize it, how we share it, and then ultimately how we use it to make it work for us and analyze our information. So we really appreciate you providing the answers on the polls on these 4 continuums that we talked about on data capture, data visualization, data sharing, data analysis. Ultimately, it may be very obvious, but I want to be very explicit. So why does it matter? It matters because consistent data capture, improved visibility, and better collaboration, along with comprehensive analysis, will result in cost and energy efficient operations. And that is what we are all working for. Nobody comes to me and says, hey, I have more budget this year. No, all our budgets are actually going down. And solutions that are energy ERP can actually be either cost neutral because they will end up reducing your energy and operational costs. But those energy ERP solutions are not very easy to implement. When they are available, they really need a champion. Are you that champion?
Great, and I'll take it from here. Thank you both. Great presentation, a lot of good information, and a lot of good input from our audience. So thank you, everybody. And let's take our few last minutes to go into some of the questions that we've been getting from our audience. All right, and the first one, What strategies do you suggest to move information sharing into action?
I can take that. Yeah. Well, I would suggest that in addition to looking at just information sharing, first make sure that the program that you have in place for data collection, analytics, and visualization is pretty solid. Because if you have inaccurate, inconsistent, and unreliable or poorly displayed information, if you use that and share it with others, it can actually negatively impact your story. So once you are very confident in those basic areas, then you need to find a solution that makes it easy to configure the information and tailor it for the right audience. Because if you make it really cumbersome for you to share that information, or the system that you have in place is very cumbersome to use, you're not going to use it and you're not going to share that information with others. So for example, your senior leadership may want a PDF of high-level energy cost and usage information delivered on a quarterly or semi-annual basis directly into their inbox, whereas your accounting office may want to get an Excel file of building-level monthly, year-on-year comparison. So they're completely two different needs that they want that shared. So make sure you find a solution that allows you the flexibility to meet all your data sharing needs.
Okay, thank you for that. And let's go on to our next question. Okay. What is the right frequency and level of detail to provide people on building performance? How much do they need to know?
Well, that's a loaded question, and it depends a lot on the resources that you have available in your team and what the goals of your organization are. It is very dependent on that. From my point of view, the more granular the data you have, but you can make sure that you can utilize it in a smart manner. So just having a lot of granular data is not the answer. Making sure that you can utilize that in a smart manner, it will make it into a very powerful tool for you. So if you just collect granular information like interval data, but you're not utilizing any sophisticated analytics tools, then that interval data is just using your disk space and costing you money in disk storage. So make sure that whatever you have, whatever level of detail you have, matches your organization goals, matches the skill availability of your resources, whether it's people or the solutions that you have on your organization, but make sure that match exists.
I believe you're muted, Deborah.
Sorry, I had a little bit of noise and I forgot. Thanks for that. Oh my goodness, never fails. This is a little bit of a longer question. So this person wants thoughts on best practices working with billing consolidators for data and then getting a full fiscal year in a timely manner, and or perceptions of modeling portions of data to get the full year performance in order to get reporting out by a specific date. Any thoughts on that?
I think the way I understand the question, it again depends on the goals of your organization and the desire of your leadership. For me, always the quicker access to the data, the more real time it is, the more valuable it is. Now, full year performance does give you a full picture, but it does take a little bit of time to become available. So sometimes if there are deviations from normal, you want to fix it more quickly than wait for the full year to have passed. And it's sometimes too late to make adjustments to your operation if a mid-year or a quarterly report could have identified that outlier sooner. So any type of dashboard solutions that allow you to have that flexibility to go for either the real time or close to real time or for that full year view, that will really help you to have that flexibility to see it both ways.
Okay. Our next question. How is the Designer BI different from existing dashboards? More customization?
Yeah, I can take that one. So Report Designer BI does provide you the ability to really sky's the limit in terms of what you want to design, because you get to take advantage of the analysis tools and things that you're already familiar with within your organization. I would say that's one value of something like Report Designer BI. The additional value comes from being able to take EnergyCAP data and being able to integrate it with other data within your system. So maybe you already have a lot of information in your system. So let's take a university as an example. A university may have enrollment data, they may have tuition data, they may have other data that's not part of the energy data, but it's affecting both, right? They affect each other. They have this relationship. So when you're using something like Report Designer BI, you have the ability not only to customize your views and things like that, but you can also tie the data in with other data that you have within your organization and create an even broader view of impacts. That's why I say the sky's the limit. It really depends on how much you want to integrate. So that's one benefit, but there's a whole other benefit of being able to tie your data in with other organizational data that you have.
Great. Okay, thanks for that. And I think we have time. Let's see how many we can get in here. How does EnergyCAP tie in directly to Energy Star? And does EnergyCAP benchmarking reflect Energy Star's ratings?
Yeah, that's a great question. So EnergyCAP has a built-in connector with Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So you can link the meters that you're tracking data on within EnergyCAP to meters in the Energy Star Portfolio Manager system. They can either be meters that you've already modeled in Portfolio Manager, or EnergyCAP can create the data, create the meters for you. EnergyCAP even has an automatic submission process, so you can configure this connection between EnergyCAP and Energy Star and have EnergyCAP nightly automatically submit updated billing data, so you always have the latest, greatest information within Portfolio Manager. Also, EnergyCAP grabs the scores. Every time we send data to Energy Star, we pull back Energy Star scores and metrics, and we display that within EnergyCAP. So you get the advantage of EnergyCAP reporting and dashboarding with information that we're pulling out of the Energy Star Portfolio Manager system. And like I said, you can even configure this to have an automatic submit every night and make sure that your data in both systems is, as Lalit just mentioned, as close to real time as your data allows.
Okay, and with that, I'm afraid we are just about at the top of the hour. So let me just thank both of our speakers, Lalit and Dave. Terrific presentation, such good information. Thank you to our EnergyCAP partners for making all of this possible. Thank you to our attendees who answered 4 poll questions and show that they really showed great interest in this topic. So we're thrilled to have everybody with us today. Thank you all. Hope you'll come back next week for our next webinar on February 2nd. So thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.